Part 2. So, Braid was born in 2003. We are now in 2006. And I'm depressed. Real bad. So, some people that I worked with gave me the information for a therapist. And marriage counseling was one of the funnest times of our life. Okay. So I contact the therapist and I'm like, hey, I need, I'm depressed. I need to talk to somebody. My mom passed away. Me and my husband fight all the time. Like, I just need some help. So I said I would like to have some type of medicine. I had asked like doctors, my OB doctor, which was the only doctor I really had. I had asked her about an antidepressant. I was really dumb when it came to medicine. So she wanted to put me on a daily medication. And I wanted like a nerve pill because I didn't understand what an antidepressant did. So I just kept wanting like a nerve pill. Can I just get something for my nerves? Like, I'm so anxious all the time. And she kept saying, I'll give you an antidepressant. I'll give you an antidepressant. Well, I never got it. I never picked up the antidepressant because I didn't want to have the responsibility of taking a daily medication. So we are in therapy. I'm in therapy. Michael hasn't started yet. I'm in therapy and he sends me to the local doctor here in town, and he suggests that they put me on the medication called Effexor. And they did. And when I tell you that the lowest dose of that medication made such a gigantic difference that it was noticeable. So right after I started counseling, Michael and I had a vacation scheduled for Myrtle Beach, and me and him and Braid. And this is our first beach vacation as a family, and we're so excited. However, we don't necessarily like each other. We don't love being around each other. So I pick up this medicine, and the week that we are at the beach, I take it. And when I tell you that it may have been the combination of the two, getting away from reality and also adding some serotonin to my brain. The next statement that I'm going to make is either going to make a lot of sense or 0 sense. And that is, I got medicated. Michael got fixed. Now, let me interpret that. So maybe all of the things that I thought Michael was doing to me was actually just the way I was interpreting it, because I believe that sometimes you can have a deficiency in your body, and if you get that corrected, everything changes. And that's what happened. I got the deficiency fixed. Therefore, I didn't necessarily react the way that I had previously. So I have joked about this for 20 years, and that is, when I got medicated, it actually fixed Michael, not me. I wasn't the one with the problem. Remember, it wasn't me. I didn't have the problem. I wasn't the mean one. He was. So why did I get medicated and all of a sudden everything's different? It's a hard one to grasp. Because I was the problem. It's hard. Once we figured that out, though, things start going uphill. Drastically uphill. Maybe not constantly in financial at this given time. Like financial, we didn't become, and I still don't want to say that we're great, but we don't struggle to pay our bills at the moment. And your moment can change at any time. But I will say that after I got medicated, the next 15 years of our life definitely had some downs, but the ups were so much larger. So, like, we now decide that we're going to, because we like each other again. Not that he ever didn't like me, and I never, ever was not madly in love with Michael. I've always been madly in love with him. And I will be till the day I die. I love him that much. But it gets good. Like, we thoroughly enjoy being a family. We love each other unconditionally, and we will do that forever. Like, we're a group. And one day when Braid finds his person, I truly hope that we can continue to be as close as we are as a trio. Like, we're very close. We are very close family, as in me and my husband and our son. We're very close. So over the next several years, we vacation. We go on adventures, all kinds of adventures, cruises, 4-wheeler trips, just anything and everything that you've ever wanted to do as us as children, Michael and I, anything we ever wanted to do as children, if we were capable of it, we definitely did it with our own child. And I'm going to go ahead and say that having Michael and Braden completed me. Now, I may feel differently when I get a daughter-in-law or hopefully one day, a grandchild. Like, I hope that, I actually can't wait for those times to happen. But back to Michael and I, we have, I'm gonna go a little in depth with this one. I haven't really talked about our sex life, and I'm not going to go into a great deal, but I am going to say that when we met, Michael had hands. Like, I didn't know where all of his hands came from, because I felt like there was at least 3 that went up my shirt and a couple that I felt like went south too. So I was like, where did all these hands come from? And that was like the first time or the second time he ever came to my apartment outside of my mom's. The sex life has never been nothing short of amazing. We have always thoroughly enjoyed our sex life, and we still do to this day. We have ventured out in the sexual department. We have never, I can say confidently that we have never cheated on each other. I've never physically cheated on him. He's never physically cheated on me. Emotionally, I don't know that I would say that he cheated on me, but there was a time. And that was actually closer to high school years of Braid. Braid was in high school. And this is the last really big hiccup we've had. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about it to get the bad out of the way, and then the rest of it's good. It's good. But this last hiccup was a massage therapist here in town. And I had went to her a couple times for a massage. And you know, when I was in her bed, she never said anything to me about hearing that my husband was having an affair. Never mentioned it. But a friend of mine at the time was in there one day getting a massage. And this massage therapist thought it was a grand idea to tell this lady about an affair that she had heard about. And she named my husband and another lady. Now, when I'll tell you that during the photography, and not necessarily that Michael and I wasn't getting along, but I'm going to get into how this quote affair, which was not, let me say that right off the bat. Drama. There's drama everywhere. So when I was building my photography career, and I was also working at GDC. So I was working a full-time job. And on my off hours from the full-time job, I was also working, building a photography career. And when I tell you that 10 years of my life was like a daylight to dark every day of the week. Every day. I rarely took a day off, and if I did take a day off, it usually was not on the same day as Michael, because I took it off because I had something to do, a doctor's appointment, whatever, something that caused me to take it off. Again, this is the miscommunication, which is what led up to this incident. And while I was building that career, and I worked day in and day out, if anybody was willing to give me a chance with a camera in my hand, I was fucking taking it. Period. I was taking it. And I did. And I think that drive is what got me to where I am today. Now, it did put a damper on my marriage. Humans, men and women, need to be loved and accepted and needed and wanted. And I wasn't giving any of that. But in my mind, I always knew that money was very important to Michael. Not that he needed to be rich, but he always stressed so bad over money. If he didn't have enough, or if bills were coming close and he didn't have a, quote, padding, just a little bit of extra, like he got so stressed. And I thought by working constantly. I wasn't giving him anything emotionally, but I was financially. Financially, we were okay. Because we both, I'm not saying, I mean, yes, I was, quote, working 2 jobs, but Michael also always, quote, worked 2 job hours. Like, he has never had a job where he worked 8 hours, ever. Like, my entire life with him, he has worked 12-hour days. Always. Maybe more, but always. And there was many, many times in our life that he also would work 7 days a week, not take a day off, just because struggling was so not accepted. And we did struggle, like, it's not we did, but in our minds we were just like, we can't give up money, we have to keep pushing through, we have to do it, and we did. And that leads us to this incident. So let me go back just one more second. When we started marriage counseling together way back in the day, 2006, we did that for like 6 months, once a week, and it thoroughly became something that Michael and I enjoyed. I started the marriage counseling, it wasn't marriage, by myself as an individual. I went in, I talked to the counselor. I told him that I was depressed, that I would like to have an antidepressant, and he said, "What has you depressed?" And I said, "Well, my husband calls me a fat fucking bitch on a daily." And you know what the therapist said to me? He said, "At what age did you start receiving mental abuse?" And I was like, "Huh? What do you mean?" And he said, how old were you when you first started receiving mental abuse? And I was like, "Oh, my mom, like very small child." And he said, if you grow up in a household of abuse, you normally look for that in a spouse, because that's what feels comfortable. And that's exactly what I had done. Is I had found someone that loved me, but also degraded me. And I saw that as love. So a few sessions of me going to the therapist by myself, Michael saw change, and he decided that he wanted to go with me. And he said, "I want you to go with me." And I said, "Okay." And he said, we got in the parking lot that day, and I said, "Are you ready?" And he looked over at me and he said, "I want to go in by myself." And I said, "Okay." And I was so scared, because I thought that meant that he was going to go in there and tell them that it was my fault, that I was the problem. And I was part of the problem, but we were both the problem. But he didn't. He actually went in there, and the therapist said, "Why are you here?" And he said, "Well, I call my wife a fat fucking bitch on a daily." And he said, "Do you think she's a fat fucking bitch?" And Michael said, "No." And he said, "Then why do you call her that?" And he said, "I don't know. I just do." Excuse me. One more time. Okay, sorry about that. Had a coughing fit. So once Michael went in and talked to the therapist, they both came outside and got me in the car and said, come in. And the therapist actually said that to me. He said, Michael did not come in here and blame you. He actually came in here and said that he does do this and he wants to fix it. So we did learn in therapy how to communicate to an extent. We also learned that him needing time away from me was not necessarily an issue, nor was me needing time away from him. However, you should always, big lesson here, always find time for each other. And we just weren't doing that. I'm not saying Michael would never put me above, but I felt like he didn't. I felt like he had other things in his life that he chose over me. Sounds so stupid. Like his Harley or cards. He loves to play cards. I took that as he would rather spend time doing other things than being with me. Communication. Again, this all goes back to communication. However, we graduated. We graduated therapy. He told us we would be fine, and he was right. We're fine. But it taught us a lot. Now, we learn that we should make time for each other, but life happens. And like I said, when we started therapy, I had just got my first camera, and that was something we had talked about. Like, I enjoy taking pictures, just going out, driving around and taking nature pictures. I just really enjoyed using the camera. Michael had zero desire to do that, but the therapist said, sometimes if you love someone, it's okay to do something that they enjoy, even if you don't, just to make them happy. And Michael loved to ride the Harley at this time in life, and I did enjoy riding the Harley, but I would not get on it in complete fear. Again, what if something happened? What if me and Michael getting on this Harley and someone hits us or we wreck and we both die? Where does that leave our kid? And that's just the shit that went through my head. So I couldn't not do it. But going to therapy, he was like, you could walk out in the street and get hit by a car. So you can't live your life in fear or you're never going to be happy. And he was right. That was very right. So, like I said, our therapy in the beginning definitely gave us a huge spring forward. And over the next 10 years, I built a life with photography. Michael builds a life finding something else to do on the weekends. I was working. And we had a little bar downtown. The bar's still there. It's not the same bar as it was when he was a regular. And I mean, he probably had his name on a bar stool. Truly. Every single Friday and most generally Saturday, he would sit at that bar till closing. And I would go out and do pictures and come home and sit at the computer and edit for hours and hours and hours. And I would get done editing and I would go to bed and he would come home, and sometimes he would come to bed and sometimes he wouldn't. And I mean, he would always come home, but sometimes he wouldn't make it to bed. Sometimes he would sleep downstairs on the couch. And then it became very regular that he slept on the couch. I had our child slept in the bed with me, and it was hard to sleep with three. We also had a dog, so there was me and the kid and the dog, and Mike was just like, he had to get up and go to work, so he would go downstairs and sleep. Now, having said all of this, I'm going to go back to this shit show, this last shit show. So I was told that this girl that gets told by the massage therapist comes to my house. Because for some reason, people think I'm crazy. Now, am I crazy? Fuck yeah, I'm crazy. Who ain't crazy? But legitimately crazy, I've never been diagnosed. So, I don't know. But there is people that think that I am crazy enough to lose my shit and maybe cause a scene. So she comes here, and a few minutes in, she tells me, and when I tell you that I lost my shit, I lost my shit. But I also contacted my husband, and I said, hey, what the fuck? And not one time in his voice did I hear doubt. He was like, no, I didn't do it. Yes, I know who she is. No, I never touched her. Yes, I've sat at the bar and had a drink with her a time or two, but just at the bar, not at a table. Just, she sat down beside of me. She also had a Harley, and they just talked. And I wanted to believe him, and I did believe him. But I didn't believe him too. It was like, oh. So again, at this point, my depression is rock fucking bottom. On the bottom. Because my entire life just flashed before my eyes. And that was the turning point in Mike and I's life. Everything that happened before that, it's it doesn't matter. Yes, we raised a child. We loved each other. It was trials, tribulations. But Michael and I have never truly chosen each other up front first all the time until that point. I had never been so heartbroken over just the possibility of that betrayal. And once Michael and I sat down and talked, and we both instantly decided that we were what we both wanted. We did not want to stop this marriage, by no means. We were going to do whatever it took to fix it, and that is exactly what we've done to the current day. We wake up every day, and I'm not saying that we get along every day. We don't have arguments. We absolutely do. But we do not put anything above the other one. No, we just don't. He is my most important, along with my son, and I'm his. And I believe that. Now, let's just talk about some trips. Let's talk to good stuff, trips. We have been one of the most memorable trips of Michael and I. We are both Loretta Lynn fans, huge. Me, huge, huge. And Mike took me to her ranch, and we spent a few days there and seen everything Loretta Lynn, and just maybe for the first time ever, we took a trip with there was just me and him. And that was one of the funnest times of my life. It was just, because like I said, Michael and I didn't really have a lot of that alone time prior to having Braid. It happened so fast. And when we did get time away, when we still, we do now, if we take trips, and we take trips now, most generally they're just him and I. But like those younger days when we would take time alone, like it was just very memorable. I'll remember all of those times. All of those times. So good. When he puts his arms around me, I feel the safest that I've ever been. And that's if we're standing up and he gives me a hug, if we're laying in bed and we're spooning. Like, if I'm in his arms, all is right in the world. And that's our love story. I could tell so much, but if you are a young married couple and you fight a lot and you sometimes just want to fucking throw in the towel and say, this is just not worth it. This is not fucking worth it. It was for me. Sticking it out was the best decision that I ever made for my life, was continuing to choose my husband over and over and over again. And in order to have a successful marriage, you have to do that. You can't ever stop falling in love. You can't ever stop dating. You have to constantly, and I'm not saying every day, all day long, but every so often, you need to let your person know that they're still just as important to you. And that you would go to the ends of the earth for them just like you would on day one. And that's me. I loved Michael when I married him. I don't know what it's called now. Like, it's definitely different. But is there something bigger than love? I don't know. If there is something bigger than love, that's what I feel for Michael. I hope that you have enjoyed part 2 of my love story. I can't wait to continue sharing my life with you.